Alright guys, as you can see, I have the bike on the lift, ready to take off the front wheel. I've already cracked these bolts here. These I believe are 10mm stars. These I believe are 1/4 inch Allens, and I've already loosened this as well. I'm using a 15/16 impact. So basically what we're going to do, remove these two bolts. We're going to suspend the brake caliper from the engine guard. I've got some tie straps over here, just like I've done on this side. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that, and then we'll take the wheel out. Try to put you guys in a good spot. These are identical bolts, so you don't have to worry about mix matching them. Alright, there's the caliper. Brake pads still look pretty good, but when I show you what the rear brakes look like, you just might as well do it. And I need to change these pads for the kind of rotor that I purchased. Lyndall says you have to use a certain one so it doesn't mess up the color of the rotor. So this is your ABS sensor, I believe. So notice how that fits right there on the outside. I'm just going to slide that up and out of the way. Bolt and washer. Very important that you keep them in the same order they came off. Now I'm just going to use a rubber mallet to push him through, and the wheel should come right down. Just going to take another look, make sure I've got everything off. There's also a sensor, I guess it's the speedo sensor right behind here, so I'll show you that in a second. Forgot one more thing. This pinch bolt right here needs to be removed. I don't believe you have to take it all the way out. I'm just going to reseat it like that. See, sometimes we show you what to do by showing you what not to do. Alright, hopefully you guys can see that. Get my mallet again. Oh yeah, much easier. Look at that. I'm just going to pull it from the other end, holding the wheel. Okay. There's a spacer on this side, and there's the speedo sensor again. Pay attention to the orientation in which it goes in. This little metal side on the outside. I'm just gonna dangle that over there, get it out of the way. And it looks like I gotta jack the bike up a little bit more to clear the fender. And there we go. So I'm gonna put the wheel on this blanket so I don't scratch anything up. And let's do the rotors first. All right, we've got the wheel off to the side. I've removed some of these bolts already from the rotor. I'm using a T40. I recommend you put the wheel up like this so you can get a little pressure, because they are tight, not overly tight, but they are tight, and the wheel will spin with you unless you got something to hold it down. And when you take these guys off, you'll notice there's two washers, so be mindful of that. You have this, I guess what would be considered like a crush washer of some sort. It's a real thin piece of metal. Then there's this washer. And the thin one sits right like that. And the bolt itself. So I've already got this guy cracked. I don't want him to bang up on the rim too much, so I'm just gonna lay it down, get the last one out, and I'll show you guys the new rotor. I've already done the other side just to speed this up. This is a pretty simple job here with just the right tools. All right, and there's the old rotor. Just to show you guys what it'll look like, I've done the other side already. Now that's nice and clean. I didn't get the Lyndall bolts and all that. Maybe next time, but I think it looks great. Big improvement over the way it used to look. Weight-wise, I think it's about the same. I haven't weighed them, I haven't looked it up, but just, you know, my brain tells me they're pretty damn close. But looks much better. All right, let's get the other rotor and slap it on. Okay, so just so you guys can see these things side by side, there's the new one. I'm sorry, the old one. There's the new one. Like I said, maybe the older one's a little bit heavier, but it is what it is. This is a nice, looks like a matte or satin at best finish. Just gonna lay that down. Now these bolts do show, looks like some green thread lock, so you can use that. I've also seen people use plumbing tape, whatever it is you want to use. We'll put this back on, we'll move to the brakes. And another thing to note too, when you're putting these guys on, you know, you want to make sure everything is as centered as possible. And you definitely want to use a star pattern as you install them and as you tighten them down, just to make sure everything's even. So it's like this. There you go. We'll tighten them down and we'll move on to brakes. Okay, brake time. Well, not really, but so I've got the caliper up here with the tie strap like I showed you, just so there's no extra tension on the brake fluid line. You can see how far the caliper has been pushed in due to the size of the brake pad. They do say remove the cap off the reservoir. I've done this without having to do that. A lot of people use a screwdriver. I like to use this little pry bar because it is bent at an angle, and it makes it a little easier to push those pistons back in place. You just flip it when you want to do the piston on the other side. Okay, let's get this side in. Okay, that looks pretty good. You will have to remove this guy. Oh, dust cover here just pops right off. Boom. And then you have this little bolt right here. It does have a little retaining clip. Little tiny clip, don't lose that. Kind of a safety thing, I believe. And I'm just using my 3/16. Crack the bolt. Take it off. This bolt passes through both brake pads. There it is. Definitely want to wash that off and your brake caliper off with some brake cleaner. And now these pads should just come right out. And there you have it. Not too bad, but I think it's time anyway. Alright, so let's go to the new brake pads. We're going to have to apply some anti-squeak to the back here of the new pads. And then we'll reinsert them, put the bolt in, slide the pin in, clean this all up while you got it off. Just, you know, it's full of brake dust and road dirt and everything else. So I'm just going to hang him back up there. Let's go to the new brake pads. I'll show you the difference and apply the grease. Okay, so I can show you, these are from the front. Pretty worn. Here's the two rings where the pistons of the caliper hit. If we compare it to a new pad, I don't know, maybe about 50%. The rear was another story. I did the rear, but I didn't do the rotor. Something I'll do next time around probably. Just wasn't in the mood to take off the rear tire and go through all that. The rear was super low. I mean, probably at its limit here. Maybe half of half. Well, that would be nothing, but pretty damn close. Pretty damn close. Hard to see, but anyway, those are the old ones. These are the new pads. These are the Z Plus pads by Lyndall. They say use these when you use specifically colored rotors. Now if you have the Harley kit, you'll have a little sticker template where you lay the stickers on. You kind of see it. That's a good one. Okay, like this. You put the sticker on, you apply the grease over it, and you peel the sticker off, and it makes this nice little dashed circle here. Lyndall kit doesn't come with that, but what I do, I put a little bit of the anti-squeal stuff I just got at the auto store. I just put a little bit in each of these dimples and then just spread it out with my hands in a similar shape. Doesn't take a lot. You don't have to glob it on. Two of these packets did 3 calibers, so you really don't need a lot. And I know when you get the Harley one, it comes with this little half tube, so I'll do that. Have a rag nearby. You don't want to get this stuff on the pad itself. You don't want to contaminate the brake pad itself. So I'm just gonna gently mimic the circle on both of these pads. Voila. All right, so we'll put these guys back on, get the wheel on, and wrap it up. Okay, so we're back ready to put these brake pads on. There is an orientation here, as you can see. This is the hole that this bolt came out of. These pads have a hole at the top, so you want to make sure it's lined up like that. I like to slide the back in first and then just maneuver it, and I use that hole as a reference as far as being in the right spot and all that. And we'll do the same thing on this side. I'm sorry if you guys can't really see, it's kind of hard to hold it at the same time. Okay, so that's in there. Take my bolt, pass it through, and I'll do all the torque specs when I get the caliper on the attached to the fork itself. And this little clip here, there's a little slot in that bolt I just put in. Just gonna slide them in like that. That's it. And this guy is ready to go back on. For right now, I'm just gonna put that back up here. I'm going to clean and put some anti-seize on the axle, and then put this bad boy back on. Oh, also another note, make sure you torque these to spec per your manual. Mine, I believe it was 16 to 24 foot-pounds, so I set it at 20. Use my torque wrench, torque them all down. All right, I'll get this clean and we'll get this all mounted. Okay, there's my axle, cleaned it off already. Got some anti-seize from the local auto store. Just gonna put some on here. Some people take a little bit of lube and put it in here just to help guide it. Alright guys, so I've got the axle clean. I've got some anti-seize lube that I picked up from the local auto store in here ready to go. We're gonna take the wheel, make sure the spacers and all that are set up correctly, and we're gonna slide this bad boy in. Another thing you want to make sure is that your wheel is facing the right direction. I use the marks on the tire, shows you what direction the wheel goes. So we're going to slide this bad boy right in there, ever so gently. Looks like I'm going to have to lower the jack a little bit. So we'll go ahead and we'll do that. And that might be good enough right there. So again, make sure you know how everything goes back in. Speedo's gonna go in here. You do have a spacer on the other side. And this is probably a lot easier with an extra set of hands, but we'll do our best here. There we go. I've got the sensor in. I've got the washer on the other end. I'm sorry, the spacer on the other end. There's my washer. Here's my nut. Like I said, I will torque all this down after, but we'll give it a good little run here. There we go. All right. Let's get these brake pads back on. Make sure we get our sensor back in the proper location. Like this, our ABS sensor. And we'll just keep rocking. All right, sorry about that. The fan was on. Forgot I had it on in case it was too noisy. Got my 2 bolts in. So this, and this need to be torqued down to spec. So we'll do that. The only other thing is this little cover up here. Oh, I should probably torque that down first. Never mind, we'll torque that down and then we'll do it. Another thing, anytime you do brakes, make sure when you have the caliper off and before you change the pads or any point before you put it back on, do not press the brakes. If they close all the way, you're gonna have to rebuild these. It's real expensive. So make sure anytime you're doing brakes, don't hit the brakes before you're ready. Okay, so I have everything torqued down to spec. Check your manual. Again, you have the bolt in there, these two. This guy and this guy here should all be torqued to spec. Anytime you do brakes, do not just take it out and ride. You want to pump this up a few times. As you see, there's nothing there. Basically just setting the pistons. There we go. Now I got bite. Same thing with the rear, because I did the rear. Boom, now we have bite. All right, I think it looks great. I'll show you this side without the light. Visually, it looks 10 times better with the black on black. Gonna take it out and let's see how she performs.